subchapter yang seterusnya ialah what is contamination and what is spoilage. Okay, contamination. So basically, contamination is the process of making something dirty or poisonous, or the state of containing unwanted or dangerous substances. Okay. So it have the same definition as adulteration, adulterant, as we have discussed last semester. Adulteration. Okay. Defilement. Okay. Impurity and pollutant. It brings the same definition as contamination, meaning that they are the process of making something dirty or poisonous or containing unwanted or dangerous substance. In terms of food contamination, okay, the definition is foods. Tadi contamination, something, so we get the food contamination, the food itself been spoiled or tainted because they either contain microorganisms or foreign substance, whether chemical or physical substance, that make them unfit for consumption. Okay, they are spoiled because they are foreign matters, okay, microorganism, okay, physical, chemical, okay, which when this foreign substance or foreign material in that particular food, they make them unfit for consumption. We cannot eat that food. We call as food contamination. So there are three types of food contaminant. The sources of contaminant, which are the first one biological, okay, second is chemical, and the third one is physical contaminant. Okay, we have physical, chemical, and physical contaminant. Okay, so the first source of contamination, it can be from the poor hand washing. Okay, poor hand washing. Macam sekarang ni kan, musim corona ni, semua yang digalakkan untuk cuci tangan. Perbanyakkan cuci tangan, sanitize tangan. Kan? Nanti detail kita discuss dalam chapter GHP, good hygiene practices. Kan? 7 langkah pencucian tangan. Okay, 7 langkah pencucian tangan. And then apa lagi? Berapa lama nak cuci tangan? Dan berapa lama nak cuci tangan? Okay. Ini semua kita discuss dalam GHP nanti. Good hygiene practices. Okay. So antara punca berlakunya pencemaran disebabkan oleh poor hand washing. Poor hand washing. Tak cukup masa, tak cukup step cuci tangan. Okay, and then number 2, the sources of contamination is from cross-contamination. Okay, cross-contamination. So maybe the sources of contaminant is not from the products, but come from other factors. For example, it can come from other food. Okay, other food. Okay, from other food. For example, we put the raw products such as chicken, okay, in our fridge at upper level compared to our cooked product in refrigeration, okay, refrigerator or in chiller, okay, and then the juice from the raw material can come into the cooked products, and then it cross-contaminate the products. The second way of cross-contamination is from equipment or utensils to food. For example, we use the same chopping board, okay, the same chopping board or the same knife to cut the raw products, okay, such as chicken or meat, and then we use the same chopping board, same knife without been washing to cut the vegetables or fruits, okay, or we used to cut the cooked products or cooked chicken, And then the third one, the cross contamination can be from people. Okay, from people to food. Okay, how they handle the products, whether they have they have wearing a PPE or not, the face mask, the glove, okay, the hand nets during handling the products. The third source is from the storage and cooking temperatures. So it's very important. Okay, very important to make sure the product is being handled. Okay, uh, not in danger zone. In danger zone between 5 to 60 or 63 degrees Celsius. Okay, sometimes they call 4 to 60, okay, or 5 to 63 degrees Celsius, which we know as danger zone. Okay, okay, and then the final source is the contamination by animal waste. Especially the type of cross contamination can happen especially after harvesting. After harvesting the fruits, the vegetables. When we have the fertilizer, we use the animal waste as the fertilizer. So make sure we have proper cleaning, okay, washing the raw material, the fruit, the vegetable before consumption, or before we produce the further processed products. Okay, so these are four sources of contamination. And then spoilage. So what is spoilage? Spoilage is the process in which food or other substance stop being good enough to eat or use. Okay, or the waste produced in the process, we call it as spoilage. So how about food spoilage? So food spoilage is a process or change which renders a product undesirable or unacceptable for consumption, meaning that the original nutritional value, the texture, the flavor, or the food are damaged. Okay, so the food spoilage is not just only on quality issue, but also on food safety. For example, maybe some of the fruits, for example, it's been ripening into the so it have the color changes, but it still can be eaten. Okay, but in certain cases, the food spoilage can bring harmfulness. It can bring harmfulness. Okay, kita nampak roti kan ada selaput kulat. Okay, it spoil. Okay, but in a certain degree, it can be harmful. Katakanlah kita nampak kulat dah berubah warna, dan warna hijau gelap dan dah jadi warna hitam. So it can bring harmful to health. Okay, so what is the sources of spoilage? The first one is same with contamination. It can spoil through microbial spoilage. Okay, second we have chemical spoilage, and then the third one we have physical spoilage. Okay, so other than that include pest. Pest is also the sources of spoilage, and then the time itself. Okay, the time, how long we store that product, so it also can spoil our product. For example, when we store our products in chiller or in refrigerator, we need to make sure that it's not been stored too long. Okay, the average is about a week. Sometimes there are recommendation for 3 to 4 days only. Okay, 3 to 4 days only. If we store or keep our products in chilling temperature. Okay, so time itself can bring spoil to products. So detail you can refer to module that have been uploaded in Google Classroom. Okay, chemical spoilage, for example, browning and ripening. Or sometimes it also involve oxidation. Oxidation when the products contain fatty acid. It can have oxidation, which is chemical spoilage. Okay, what are the signs of food spoilage? For example, fruits spoiled by mold or yeast. So grow in acidic conditions after being damaged during storage or transportation. Okay, fruits. Okay, number 2, vegetables spoiled by mold or bacteria as a result of damage during storage or transportation. So it becomes soft, okay, and discolored. And sometimes there are black spots and smell rotten. Okay, meats been broken down by enzymes and spoiled by bacteria. The processed and cooked meat becomes surface slime, discoloration, and will produce smell of. Okay. Spoiled cooked meat produce gases that may burst vacuum packs. So for fresh meat and poultry, it produces surface slime green, discoloration, white spots, and smell of. Okay. That's why sometimes the producer put nitrate in the meat products to show that their product is still can be used, it's not been spoiled. Okay, so beware, be cautious on the usage of nitrate and O3. And number 4 is fish. To spoil in a similar way to meat, though the process is usually much more rapid. Okay, so when a fish is spoiled, it will smell off and discolor. Okay, smell off and discolor. So for fish, sometimes the producer use formaldehyde. Yang biasanya digunakan untuk mengawet mayat. Nak bagi nampak ayam ikan yang nampak fresh. So number 5, milk and milk products spoiled by bacterial growth causes the product to be sour. So present in the raw milk and survive processing. So if left, mold can also grow. So milk will become smell and taste of. It will start to curdle. So bits are found in milk. So sometimes it's all been curdled. For bread and other flour products, it's been affected by mold and yeast, okay, because of high sugar levels. So it becomes fruity, sickly smell, and soft sticky texture. Internally, bread discolored to yellow or brown. And the last one for canned food. So the canned food spoil where bacteria have not been properly destroyed before canning. Normally, Clostridium botulinum for canned food. Clostridium botulinum is not been killed during the heat treatment. So normally for canning process, we treat the products with heat until 121 degrees Celsius. So if the bacteria is not been killed or destroyed before canning, so the can cannot or the can not been properly sealed, and where the can itself is eroded by acid in food. That's why kalau kita jumpa produk yang ada kemek dalam tin yang kemek, kena berhati-hatilah. Ataupun tin yang swell, yang swelling pun kita kena berhati-hatilah. Sebab kadang kalau dia swelling tu ataupun dia nampak macam besar tu menunjukkan mungkin bakteria yang dalam tu masih hidup. Especially Clostridium botulinum. Okay, antara bakteria yang dikira sebagai paling the most dangerous, okay, bakteria. So ni antara tanda-tanda lah dari segi kerosakan makanan, the sign of food spoilage. So how about the sign of contamination? Okay, how about the sign of contamination? Macam mana kita tahu tanda-tanda berlakunya pencemaran. So if we see from this picture, it shows that the contamination, we can see the sign from the production or primary production until the retailing or restaurant. So the first one, contamination in production or primary production. For example, if a hen's reproductive organs are infected, okay, so the yolk of an egg can be contaminated also in the hen before it is even laid. Okay, number two, if the fields are sprayed with contaminated water for irrigation, so the fruits and vegetables can be contaminated before harvest. Or the fish in some tropical reef may acquire a toxin from the smaller sea creatures they eat. So this is the example of contamination at the primary production or at the we call as upstream, upstream. And then at the processing, the contamination and processing, if contaminated water or ice is used to wash, to pack or chill fruits or vegetable, the contamination can spread to those items, or during the slaughter process, germs on animals' hide that came from the intestines can get into the final meat product. That's why kalau dalam slaughtering biasanya lepas dia dah sembelih, dia akan ikat, okay, saluran pemakanan tu supaya dia tak masuk ataupun contaminate the meat, the carcass. If germ contaminate surfaces used for food processing, such as processing line or storage bins, the germs ni refer to microbes, germs refer to microbe, can spread to food that touch those surfaces. It's a cross contamination. Then at the distribution stages, if refrigerated food is left on a loading dock for a long time in warm weather, it could reach temperatures that allow bacteria to grow. Okay, because of time factor. So French produce can be contaminated if it is loaded onto a truck that was not cleaned after transporting animals or animal products. Okay. And then last at the preparation, okay, before goes to the table or to the consumer and product to the end consumer. So the food worker sick and does not wash his or her hands carefully after using the toilets, it can be the contamination, cross contamination from people to food. Or uses a cutting board or knife to cut raw chicken and then use the same knife, okay, or cutting board without washing it to slice tomatoes or salad. Okay. So, and then another example is contamination in a refrigerator if meat juices get onto items that will be eaten raw. So there are many possible of contamination, okay, along the supply chain from the primary production upstream until the downstream of chain, okay. And then I think this is the comparison between what is, kadang kita jumpa istilah foodborne illness, and then sometimes we found the terms of food poisoning. So what are the differences between these two terms? What is foodborne illness? And then what is food poisoning? Sometimes we consider foodborne illness is food poisoning, and then food poisoning is foodborne illness. Okay, generally, basically it is the same. It is the same. But what is the difference is, okay, foodborne illness is an infection or intoxication that results from eating food contaminated with viable microorganisms, as well as chemical or natural toxins. Okay, whether from microorganisms, whether from chemical or natural toxins. We call it as foodborne illness. So foodborne illness includes allergic reaction. Okay, sometimes there are people that have allergic to certain food. For example, nuts. Okay, wheat. Okay, wheat. The eggs. Okay, so includes under foodborne illness is allergic reaction and other conditions where foods act as a carrier of the allergen. Okay, so normally this foodborne illness is referred to disease caused by consuming contaminated food or drink. So it concerns on the things in the food that makes people. It concerns on things, which is the microbe, the toxin, okay, the pathogen, the virus or the toxin. So it takes a lot longer to come on, up to a month. Okay, so the time is longer. So how about food poisoning? So food poisoning is a part of, it's also foodborne illness, but it's a part of foodborne illness, and is caused by the ingestion of preformed toxins. Okay, preformed toxins. So people getting sick, okay, generally fairly quickly after eating contaminated food, typically within a week. So you see, you can see, so the time period is shorter compared to foodborne illness. If for foodborne illness take longer time, up to a month. But for food poisoning, the effect will take within a week. Concern on the effect. Okay, compared to foodborne illness, the concern is more on the thing. What are the sources? What are the factors? What are the reasons? Okay, of that particular disease or illness. But on the food poisoning, the concern on the effect that the foodborne disease has on people after consuming contaminated food. So people sick due to the quantity, high numbers of bacteria being eaten, grow to inside to level that make people sick, and or the fact that the bacteria have created toxin, and it's the toxin that makes people sick. Okay. Jadi kalau compare to foodborne illness, kita lebih tengok kepada bakteria tu sendiri yang menyebabkan penyakit. Tapi kalau food poisoning, kita lebih tengok kepada kesan daripada toksin yang menyebabkan sakit tu. Okay, boleh? So next, pergi kepada satu persatu penyakit-penyakit, okay, yang disebabkan oleh sama ada foodborne illness ataupun food poisoning. So for this course, for this chapter, saya agakkan senang je. Maksudnya kalau tengok foodborne illness, saya letakkan semua penyakit yang disebabkan oleh infection, saya letakkan di bawah foodborne illness. Mana-mana penyakit yang hasilnya daripada intoxication, saya letakkan di bawah food poisoning. Tapi sebenarnya sama je. Okay, sebenarnya sama saja. Biasanya kalau kita kata yang food poisoning ni pun adalah foodborne illness. Tapi kalau yang foodborne illness, belum tentu menyebabkan food poisoning. Boleh Okay, so yang pertama ialah Salmonella. Balik kepada Salmonella. Apa penyakit yang disebabkan oleh Salmonella? Okey ke? Dengar ke?
Dengar, sir.
Okey, tak ada bunyi apa kat belakang
Ada.
Ada. Okey. Antara penyakit yang disebabkan oleh Salmonella ialah apa yang disebut sebagai Salmonellosis. Salmonellosis, okey, yang disebabkan oleh Salmonella enteritis. Ataupun typhoid. Ni biasa kita dengar kan, typhoid. Yang disebabkan oleh Salmonella typhi. Ni biasanya orang ambil injection tu lah. Yang ambil suntikan anti-typhoid. Semua pengguna makanan kena ambil suntikan ni. Okay, anti-typhoid. Sebab apa nak bunuh Salmonella typhi ni yang ada dalam badan manusia. And then paratyphoid ataupun Salmonella yang disebabkan oleh Salmonella paratyphi. So typically symptoms, fever, diarrhea and abdominal cramps. Okay, fever, diarrhea and abdominal cramps. So this is able to invade the bloodstream and cause life-threatening infections in person with poor underlying health or weaken immune system. So this microbe invade the bloodstream and cause life-threatening infections. Okay, Salmonella serotypes can grow and survive on large number of foods. So their behavior in food is controlled by a variety of environmental and ecological factors, including water activity, pH, humidity, chemical composition, the presence of natural or added antimicrobial compounds, and storage temperature, as well as processing factors such as heat application and physical handling. So mostly kalau Salmonella ni, okay, in terms of food safety, biasanya kita akan masuk sebagai salah satu benda yang menjadi risiko, okay, as a potential risk if we are producing poultry based products, okay, poultry based product. Dia sama seperti mana Campylobacter tadi, Campylobacter. Biasanya kalau ada ayam je, Salmonella kita letak sebagai salah satu biological hazard. So biasanya Salmonella ni ada pada ayam. Sama macam kes telur kan, telur yang dah expired ke, telur yang dijangkiti ke, okay. So, biasanya kita akan masukkan Salmonella as one of the biological hazard if we are producing poultry based products. So the symptoms appear after 12 to 36 hours ingestion of contaminated food, and the illness will occur at range 12 to 24 hours. So last at GIT, GIT is gastrointestinal tract system. Apa ni, pencernaan usus kita GIT nama dia. Nama pendek dia GIT. From 3 days to 3 weeks. So dia boleh ada dalam sistem kita ni antara 3 hingga ke 3 minggu. 3 hari ke 3 minggu. So the presence of Salmonella species in fresh raw products can vary widely. So poultry and egg products have long been recognized as an important Salmonella source. Ni saya kata tadi biasanya kalau kita buat produk poultry je, mesti masukkan this type of microbe as one of the biological hazard. In fact, contaminated poultry, eggs and dairy products are probably the most common cause of human Salmonellosis worldwide. So it can contaminate eggs on the shell or internally, and egg shells are much more frequently contaminated than the white or yolk. So furthermore, egg surface contamination is associated with many different serotypes, while infection of white or yolk is primarily associated with Salmonella enteritis. Okay, enteritis. Okay. So this another disease caused by Salmonella typhoid. Typhoid yang kita kata kenapa ambil injection tu. Okay. The risk factor include because of poor sanitation and poor hygiene. Okay, typhoid. And then the second food-borne disease is caused by Listeria. Okay? Listeria mostly in chill products. Chill products is Listeria monocytogenes. So normally when we sell the ready to cook products, okay, or the products that have been chilled, one of the biological hazard is Listeria. Okay, because the Listeria monocytogenes can cause listeriosis. The disease is listeriosis. So listeria is found in soil and water. So the contamination of the food to the foodstuff can be happen such as vegetables contaminated from the soil or from manure used as fertilizer. Okay. Apa ni, baja daripada najis haiwan. Animals carry the bacteria and contaminate meats and dairy products, processed food such as soft cheeses and cold cuts. So it can be contaminated after processing and unpasteurized milk or food made from unpasteurized milk can be contaminated. So in pregnant women, the infection can result in miscarriage, premature delivery, serious infection of newborn, or even stillbirth. For the others, headache, stiff neck, confusion, loss of balance, septicemia and meningitis can be happen. Ni dia punya kesan-kesan lah apabila terjadinya listeriosis. Next is campylobacteriosis caused by Campylobacter jejuni. Okay, in most people who become ill with Campylobacteriosis, symptoms develop within 2 to 5 days exposure to the organisms. So infection results in enteritis, which is characterized by abdominal pain, diarrhea, fever, and malaise. So diarrhea itself can vary in severity from loose stools to bloody stools. The disease is usually self-limiting. However, it does respond to antibiotics. Okay, respond to antibiotics. So most people recover completely within 2 to 5 days, although sometimes recovery can take up to 10 days. Okay. Next is hepatitis A virus or hepatitis A. So the infection symptoms is between 2 to 6 weeks with an average of 28 days. 28 days ni about 4 weeks. 4 weeks. So when symptoms occur, they typically last 8 weeks and may include nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, jaundice, fever, and abdominal pain. These are the symptoms of hepatitis. Around 10 to 15 of people experience a recurrence of symptoms during the 6 months after the initial infection. So acute liver failure may rarely occur, with this being more common in elderly. So it's spread by eating or drinking food or water contaminated with infected feces. Okay. So the hepatitis A vaccine is effective. There are vaccine for hepatitis A. Other preventive measures include hand washing, okay, jangan lupa basuh tangan, properly cooking food. So no specific treatment is available, with rest and medication for nausea or diarrhea recommended as needed basis. Okay. Next is rotaviral enteritis. Okay, rotaviral enteritis is a mild to severe disease characterized by nausea, vomiting, watery diarrhea, and low-grade fever. Ni macam kita tadi lah. Normally rotaviral enteritis ni dia menyerang kanak-kanak. Dia kata rarely dia menyerang orang tua. Okay, compare to hepatitis tadi. Hepatitis. Okay, and then Clostridium. Kemudian kalau tengok sini saya dah tukar daripada asal food-borne disease, sebab ini kebanyakan adalah mode dia adalah infection. So start daripada mode dia adalah intoxication, saya letak di bawah food poisoning sebab dia menghasilkan toksin, menghasilkan toksin. So for example, for seaboard, Clostridium botulinum, it produce neurotoxin, what we call as botox, botulinum toxin. So prevent neurotransmitter from functioning properly and inhibit motor control. That's why it cause paralysis. That's why it called paralysis. So the symptom generally appear 12 to 70 hours after eating contaminated food. Okay, after eating contaminated food. But if the food been consumed with containing the neurotoxin, so the symptom is between 12 to 36 hours after consumed. And then staphylococcal toxin. Staphylococcal toxin are fast acting, sometimes causing illness in as little as 30 minutes after eating. Okay, so very dangerous. The toxin from Staphylococcus aureus. So contaminated food, but symptoms usually develop within 1 to 6 hours. Okay, this is the Staphylococcus toxin. And then we have Bacillus cereus, responsible for minority of foodborne illness, causing severe nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea due to survival of the bacteria and the spores. Okay, when food is improperly cooked. So cooking temperature less than equal to 100 degrees Celsius allows some Bacillus cereus spores to survive. So this problem is compounded when food is then improperly refrigerated, allowing the endospores to germinate. So cooked foods not meant for either immediate consumption or rapid cooling and refrigeration should be kept at temperature below 10 degrees Celsius or above 50 degrees Celsius. Okay, kalau nak simpan cooling. But the best is below 4 lah. And then more than 60 degrees Celsius. So bacteria growth result in production of enterotoxin, one of which is highly resistant to heat and acids. Yes, toksin ni memang dah jadi toksin ataupun spores, dia sangat heat resistant. That's why kita target nak bunuh bakteria tu, jangan sampai dia keluarkan toksin ataupun keluarkan spore. And then we have toxico-infection. Okay, despite most E. coli strain do not cause disease, but virulent strain can cause gastroenteritis. So tadi kita kata ada E. coli yang dalam sistem pencernaan, tetapi ada setengah E. coli yang pathogenic. It can harm our health. For example, E. coli 0157, H7, the strain that produce Shiga toxin. Okay, is also classified as bioterrorism agent. Causes premature destruction of red blood cell, which then clog the body's filtering system, the kidneys, causing hemolytic uremic syndrome. Okay, dia boleh menyerang sistem buah pinggang daripada E. coli. Okay, habis berkaitan dengan foodborne disease and food poisoning. Then we go to what is food allergen. Tadi kita sebutkan food allergen, allergic reaction kan. What is food allergen? Food allergy is an abnormal response for people who are sensitive to proteins in food to a food which is triggered by the body's immune system caused by food allergens. So it considered as chemical hazard. It is not biological hazard. It is a chemical hazard. Food allergy is one of the chemical hazard. However, there are certain approach now. Recently, they considered this allergy as new hazard. It's not under biological, it's not under chemical or under physical. It's a allergy hazard. But for this course, we consider this allergen still under chemical hazard. Chemical. So there are 8 food allergens that cause 90% of allergic reaction. First is milk and milk products. That's why sometimes when you see the packaging of products, okay, at the label, they say that this product is being produced with machine that produce milk or nuts product. Okay. Other than milk is eggs, fish, crustacean shellfish. Okay, such as lobster, crab, shrimp, wheat. Okay, wheat, soy, peanuts, and tree nuts. So this is a 8 food allergens that cause 90% of allergic reaction. There are many more other than this 8, but the main is these 8 types of allergen. And then FPIS ni you can read with your own. Food protein induced enterocolitis syndrome. What is meant by food protein induced enterocolitis syndrome? And then the last one for control and prevention. Okay, control and prevention. There are 3 types of control and prevention. So we have biological foodborne disease prevention, and then we have chemical foodborne illness prevention, And then we have physical foodborne illness and prevention. In details, you may refer to module that I have uploaded, okay, in Google Classroom. Okay. And then as conclusion, the burden of foodborne ill disease to public health and welfare and to economic has often been underestimated. Report on the economic burden of the foodborne disease indicate that the total productivity loss, associated with foodborne disease in low and middle income countries was estimated to cost USD 95.2 billion per year in USD. So times 3 to RM. And the annual cost of treating foodborne illness is estimated USD 15 billion. So the ultimate goal for public health and food safety officials is not just stopping foodborne disease outbreaks once they occur, but preventing them from happening in the first place. That's why in this course, why we need to learn GMP, because to detect, to identify, to prevent before the case, before the food safety issues been happen in the first place. So long-term prevention of foodborne outbreaks take the actions of many partners in food production chain. Hence, the identification of suitable preventive measures are very important to give sufficient impact on reducing and preventing foodborne disease. That's why we need a system such as GMP or HACCP or ISO 20000, or at least in our country we have MUSTI certification scheme, and then we have BEST certification scheme, in order to prevent the foodborne disease from occur. Okay, that's all for today. So these are all references that I use for this slide and also for the module. Okay, the details you can refer the module. And then thank you